Okay. Hey everybody, welcome to Unaka Gear Co. I'm Brad. Today we are going to be unveiling and installing our new premium medium roof rack for the Ford Transit. So today we'll go through some of the new features and then we'll do a step-by-step on the install. So here we go. Okay, so step one in the process, we're going to pre-install some of the hardware on our brackets. This will make the process much easier to slide the bars on and slide the side plates on. So we're going to grab our feet for the roof and our new 2-inch double T-nut, and we're going to use the 3607 bolts, which is item number 19 on your parts list. And what we will do is make sure that the nub is facing towards the inside channel, and then we're just going to finger tighten the bolts to get these started, and we'll repeat this for each one of the brackets. Okay, and we are putting this last double T-nut in. Just so you know, the reason why we changed this to a 2-inch long single double T-nut is it makes it to where as you're sliding the bar on, it doesn't flop around and change the orientation. Just makes it a lot easier to get on there. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and pre-install the hardware onto the corner brackets for the rear crossbar. So corner brackets are just these 2-hole guys right here. So we'll go ahead and put the same bolt and then a single T-nut in each of these. All right, up next we got our rear crossbar initial assembly. So what that means, we're just going to attach the brackets. So we were going to go ahead and take this out of its packaging. The new crossbars and side rails that you'll see in our V2 kits feature a ultra weather resistant powder coating, and there's also drop slots, so that way you don't have to worry about pre-installing slide-in T-nuts. You can actually just access it from the top. It makes your install and additions much simpler and faster. So we're going to finish our initial assembly, which is going to be tightening up, but just keeping them fairly loose, the brackets that we just pre-installed our hardware. We're going to bust out our included Allen tool here. I'm going to make sure that my tab on the T-nut is facing towards the inside of the 80/20 channel, towards the middle, and we'll just get this snugged up, but not like torqued all the way down. We may have to wiggle it a little as we install it. So we're going to repeat that process to where you've got all the brackets on here, and notice that the drop slot is facing towards the top. All right, so next step, we are going to pre-install the bolts and T-nuts into our side plates. There are specified bolt holes for each of these, so we're going to follow along with just these on this bottom. And the way that you can tell the bottom also is that it has notches, and these notches we will reference later, but this is where you'll have a visual of where to put the actual feet for the roof rack brackets. So we're going to do all of the bolts now for the front and rear plates using the single T-nut and the flange screw, which is item 30. One thing to make sure of, your rear plates, you're going to want to make sure you don't put the bolt heads through the exact same side, so that way you have 2 driver side plates. Make sure you flip one of the ends, so that way you have a driver side and a passenger side. Okay guys, so we've got all of our bolts installed on our side plates. We've got our brackets pre-installed on our crossbar, and all of our brackets for the roof ready to go. The next step is going to be getting up on the roof and removing the plugs on the Transit. So we're going to pull the van in, and we'll see you guys in a second. Okay, so now that we are up here at the roof, we're going to remove the caps from each of the positions for our feet. We're going to use our heat gun and a scraper. We're going to get this cleaned off as much as we can. Once we get this cap off of here, we're going to make sure that the internal threads line up so that way it's easily accessed. Sometimes you may have to cut away just a small bit of the roof where they don't line up perfectly. Hopefully we'll get lucky though. So here we go. So we're just gonna apply a little bit of heat and get this come on up. Kind of evenly moving this around. And pops right on off. So a good idea is to try to get the rest of this glue or adhesive off, and I can go ahead and I can see right now that this hole is way misaligned, so we're gonna have to cut away a good bit of the roof right here. So we'll get our metal snips and we'll cut some of that away. But we'll repeat the process for every one of our mounting positions. Okay, so I have gotten as much of this adhesive off as I can to get this to be super flat, but the threads inside here don't line up with the hole, so we're going to take our wires or our metal snips here and we're going to cut away enough so that way we can get to that bolt hole at the top of that bolt. So sometimes you have to cut away a good bit, but I just want enough access. All right, so now that I've got that cut, we're gonna go back and we're gonna clean up these sharp edges, get those flattened out. We'll file those down a little bit, but I can actually get straight access to that threaded insert now. Okay, so next step, we are going to go ahead and install our feet up here now that we have the bolt holes cleared. So we're going to grab one of the bonded washers from our hardware kits and the M8 hex bolt. We'll thread it just like that, and we will start to hand tighten this. Now we're going to keep it very loose so that way you have the ability to slide this around, because we are going to need to put side rails on next and then we'll set the width. So keeping this loose is going to let us be able to get the width set right. So we're going to pre-install each of these feet now. All right, next step, we're going to install our side rails. So we're going to just go ahead and slide these into place. We'll do one from the front, have it kind of hanging out. Do one from the rear. And grab your internal splice connectors. We are going to put one of these on the bottom channel about halfway, and we'll get it kind of snug. And I'm going to do one on the inside channel. Same thing. Put it in about halfway. Get that side snugged up. And then we'll connect them together. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to take our solar crossbars to set the width and the spacing on the rack for the side rails to each other. So we're going to pre-install one of the short hex bolts and a T-nut in the crossbar. And then what Matt and I are going to do, we're going to put one bar at the very front of the rack and one at the very rear, get our spacing set, and then tighten up our bolts. And one more note about these solar crossbars, we have different slotted channels on here for all the different types of solar panels that you may put, whether it's a Rich Solar 200, New Power 200, Rich Solar 250, and we've got notches here so that way you kind of know the centering on the crossbar itself. There we go. So we just completed tightening the front solar bracket. And what we did, we measured from the very front end of the 80-20 to get the exact same distance on both sides. And we also took a measurement from the 80-20 end to the front of the front bracket to make sure we were square up front. So now we're going to do the same thing back here. We're going to measure from the end and just make sure that we are perfectly in line. After we do that, then we're going to go back and tighten all of our bolts on the side rails, and we'll tighten the bracket feet. All right, so now we are going back and we're tightening up all our bolts. We're going to tighten these button head bolts first, and we'll make sure that these are torqued to 132 inch-pounds. The reason we're doing these button heads first is what you would see is the feet, they may actually like kind of pitch in some once these are tightened up. So that's why we left these hex bolts loose. So we're going to tighten up the button heads first, and then we're going to go back and tighten the hex bolts. Next step, we're going to die core around our feet to make sure that there's no potential water intrusion. So as best we can, we're going to get this up against the edge of feet. We'll go along the entire side, and we'll go up underneath here as well. All right, so we are in the final step of the die core. We're putting a little bit of die core around the heads of our hex bolts that we have torqued. And once we are done with that, we're going to let this cure and do our best not to touch it. It is self-leveling, so it should look pretty good once it's cured. Okay, next step, we are going to install our side plates. So we're going to install the rear plate and the middle splice plate from the back. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this in place. We're going to keep them pretty loose. Just make sure all of your T-nuts stay on. The rear plate is going to be flush with the back of the 80/20. So just make sure that as you're tightening that up, that you do have that flush back there. Okay, so we've got our side plates in place. Now we're going to take the side plate tapped bracket to go in the top part right here to bolt these two pieces together. So we're going to get those inside here and tighten them up. You'll repeat this for both the front and the back one. Get those nice and tight. All right, so we're gonna install the rear crossbar now. So all we are doing here is just sliding it. Once those brackets were installed, we're sliding it into place. I'm gonna make sure that the back bracket's flush with the 80/20, and then we'll get this tightened up. And we will repeat this on the other side. All right, so our final step here is going to be putting the wind fairing in place. We've got these square bolts, which are going to sit right here in the back side of our front side plates. So you'll be able to kind of slide both those in there. This bottom one, if it tries to bounce around on you, or if you have a solar panel that's already installed all the way to the front and you can't access it, you may put like a piece of tape right here to hold that into place. So we're going to kind of have those floating for a second, make sure we don't drop them down the front of the van. Get the wind fairing in place. Okay everyone, so we've got the wind fairing in place. We've got it angled where we want it. The final step now is we're going to just double check and make sure all of our bolts are torqued. So we'll go back and look at all that, and then that is the final piece of the install. Thanks for listening.